What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Funnily enough, yesterday I think the call almost kind of worked out. Me personally, I did not trade yesterday, as you can see from the lack of activity on my Twitter. After that candle close towards the downside, like price just kind of pumped, which completely unexpected, but that's all fine because today we have news. And when you have news, the probability of the day becomes much higher. And today I think the daily bias is quite clear. Yesterday closed bullish, and so today is going to be very straightforward kind of day where literally price is already made a new CISD towards the upside on this level right here. And all you're going to look for is for price to return to like any part within this blue box. And once you get into the news window, which is 8:30 a.m., the ideal time you want to wait for is 7:30 to 8:30 and potentially even 9:30. But basically that 2-hour window, the hour before news to the hour after, is going to be your ideal trading window. And if you retrace back into here, then you're just going to be wanting to look for an upside trade. Now, if we take a look at London so far, it's been looking pretty solid in the sense that you have broken above Asia convincingly, and most of the trading volume during London has been above the Asia high. This leads me to believe that there is a party of interested buyers in keeping the price above this level. And in your, typical volume profiling kind of terms, you have a new value area formed here. Now, the thing that's interesting about value areas is that you want to wait for, well, you don't want to wait, but one of the best kind of like opportunities when it comes to a value area is when you go below the value area low. Contrary to what people believe about ranges and value areas, the discount opportunity is actually below the value area low, and the premium opportunity is actually above the value area high. So it's not that you come back to the value area for it to find support. It's more like, okay, in the event that you sweep the bottom, then that's going to be your opportunity to get into a long. Am I saying that your price will definitely come sweep below? No, but in the event that you sweep below the VAL around the news window timing, which again is 7:30 to 8:30, then that is going to be your opportunity. Now, the second way that this kind of plays out is that you simply retrace back into this blue box from the 1 hourly and you just pump. Now, regardless of which kind of ends up happening, what's important is that you wait for that news window. Just remember that when it comes to trading, you have an x-axis and you have a y-axis. So most people just kind of focus on the y-axis, right? Candles, price action, support, resistance, and just anything to do with price. But very little people actually pay attention to the time aspect of time and price. So trading and price movement is dictated by not only the y-axis, but also the x-axis. And this is a big part of the reason why I was able to achieve a 78% win rate throughout the whole of last year, with like over 170 trades called over 300 days, and how we have been basically able to precisely call certain movements to certain time windows. It's about combining time and price, not just focusing on price. And for today, whatever happens at around that timing window, whether you retrace and you start forming a 5-minute CISD to the upside, or if you sweep the lows and then you start showing a bullish reaction, both are valid, both are towards the long side. As a trader, like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I cannot just tell you, oh yeah, this is definitely going to happen, right? Anybody that tries to tell you that it's not trading, they're kind of gambling or trying to predict the market. Which again, it's not what a trader does, right? What we do is we prepare for certain scenarios or a couple of scenarios that are very likely to happen, have a game plan for both of those scenarios, and whenever the conditions are met for either one of them, we get in. So trading in this sense is much more of a game of reading and reacting rather than predicting. So overall, that's the setup on Bitcoin. And obviously, if you kind of like close below $91,000, that is going to invalidate this trade idea, because if you do that, that's going to be a 1 hourly CISD towards the downside. And once that happens, we will be expecting, or rather anticipating, the market to form a lower low. So in that case, our bullish idea will be invalidated. But right now, you've got a very solid big block. And just to keep in mind, one other thing that kind of adds confluence to that overall sweeping of the relatively equal lows is that you have a fair value gap over here that price can head towards the upside. So once you sweep out that value area low, oh, guess what? Fair value gap, kaboom. Anyways, that is the play on Bitcoin. Let's start taking a look at Ethereum. Ethereum, you have a bearish daily bias, so technically you shouldn't be looking for longs, but we are still going to look for longs because Bitcoin is the mama bear, and if Bitcoin is expected to go to the upside, guess what? Ethereum is likely to follow suit. So in this case, you have a bullish CISD, as well as that order block, as well as that fair value gap. So just keep in mind that Ethereum is largely going to follow the exact same setup as Bitcoin, but if there was one that I would focus more towards, it would definitely be Bitcoin, purely because it is looking a little bit more, let's just say it ticks more boxes, in the sense that at the very least the daily bias, the hourly and the 5 minutes all pointing towards the same direction, whereas on Ethereum the daily bias is pointing in the opposite direction. Not to say that you cannot trade Ethereum, but I would just focus a little bit more on Bitcoin. But overall, exact same setup. Just wait for that news window. Heck, like, you already have CISD towards the upside, so depending on what time you watch this video, In the event that it's still within the London kill zone, you are very much welcome to just take a trade towards the upside. Do I recommend that? No. Purely for the reason that we have relatively equal lows over there and the value area low followed by a fair value gap. I would just be patient and wait for the news window. Remember, trading is all about the game of, well, let's just say that as a trader, you are paid based on the quality of the decisions that you make, not necessarily the quantity. But anyways, let's move on to Solana now. Like, what's interesting is, if you guys remember Solana from yesterday, I said in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, like this would be the best kind of pair for a long. And guess what? You came into the fair value, sorry, you came into the hourly order block, and boom, you started pumping at around 9 a.m, which matches within that New York kill zone window. Not going to call this as a window because I only track like public calls based on Bitcoin. And so far, we're still 5 out of 5 for this year so far. But anyways, in terms of Solana, let's take a look. Well, you have a bearish daily bias, which means now you have time frame misalignment. And not saying that you cannot trade Solana, it's just Bitcoin's probably the clearer kind of like play for today. And also, you did not get a CIZ towards the downside, so technically price is still in a bullish order flow. The only thing I would pay attention to, or the only thing that I would be careful of, is the fact that right now you have a couple of relatively equal lows and relatively equal highs, which is a very long and fancy way to say we're in a range right now. And anyone that has followed my channel for any amount of time in the last year knows that our system doesn't necessarily thrive on, ranging conditions. This system kills it when it comes to range, like when it comes to trending conditions, not necessarily for ranging conditions. So just keep that in mind. But otherwise, actually, with regards to Solana, I think the play today is just going to be going for a long once you come back into some sort of hourly PDOA at around the news window. So that's going to be this fair value gap here, as well as this order block right here, as well as that fair value gap over there. Do I think that price is going to come to this lower fair value gap? Probably not. So in the event that you return back into here during the news window, that's going to be a signal for you to take it to the upside. But again, I must warn you that this is not the highest probability outcome compared to, for example, Bitcoin, where you have time frame alignment, where compared to Ethereum, you have pretty much the same setup as Bitcoin. But in terms of Solana, it's slightly less good. Not saying that it's terrible, but I would definitely prioritize Bitcoin over Solana if you catch my flow. But otherwise, I will post any live updates if I do take a trade, if I think that things are changing. I will be on Twitter today. Yesterday, I just didn't even bother looking at the chart after posting the video. So yeah, there you have it. But otherwise, see you guys later. Ciao, ciao.